Hi, my name's Keith Cooper from Northlight Images. This is the Canon PRO-1100, Canon's new top-end desktop printer. Somebody asked me the other day, what strategy do you adopt for choosing your papers for the 1100? Which papers, if you're getting one of these, which papers would you use? Which ones do you recommend? Well, right up front, I'll say I don't actually ever recommend papers, mainly because I'm in the UK. A lot of viewers are all over the world. Paper availability varies, but there are certain things I can say about choosing papers, which hopefully will be of help. Now, I tested a lot of papers for this printer. If you have a look at the written review, look at in the notes for a link to it, you'll see all the different papers I tested and made profiles for. Now, I make profiles for them. It tells me about the papers, it tells me about how the printer performs. Now, I've got the kit to do it. Normally, that's something else that you'd need to look at, getting it from whoever you got your paper off. Now, I'll come back to that, about profiles and things like that, and paper choices, and who perhaps to get your paper off, because there are good reasons for going with some suppliers over others. Now, what about a strategy for picking your papers? Right, well, first of all, asking me how I'd pick my papers is not necessarily going to be of much help, because I've got in a room upstairs shelves loaded up with packs of papers that I've tested over the years. When I test a paper, I always ask for a minimum A3 plus box of paper to test. That means I've got papers left over for testing with other printers. If it's a paper I really like for something, then I may buy a box of it to use for my own printing. But in general, all my test supplies, I've got so many of them that it's quite often, a matter of which one comes to hand first. Is this one I like? Now, there perhaps should be some more choice in it than that, but quite often there isn't. Because when it comes down to it, always remember that what people see in prints is the picture, the image. They rarely see the paper. In fact, I go so far as to say a friend of mine who used to run a paper selling company here in Leicester confided to me once at a photo show that they sold far more thicker papers than thinner papers where people could pick them up and handle the prints. Remember that you, in looking at this picture, which is a black and white picture printed on this, on a, don't know which one this is, I'd have to have a look, on a thinnish art paper, it's a matte paper, using the black and white print mode for the 1100 here. Now, you can't tell that this is a relatively thin paper. In fact, if you frame it and show it, nobody can tell it's a relatively thin paper. So, when people go, oh, well, that's a really nice feeling paper. Yeah, that's a really nice feeling paper. And a friend of mine said that they used this as a way of selling paper. They knew that people who buy paper go, oh, that feels good. Irrespective of what, well, not quite irrespective, but near enough irrespective of what it looked like. So always remember there is a hefty bit of marketing going on anytime you are looking at different papers. But anyway, strategy. 3 basic categories of people I would address for this. First of all, you're a PRO-1100 user. You've got a new printer, it's failed or something like that. You've decided you've got a replacement, it's a PRO-1100. All your PRO-1000 printing experience is perfectly relevant. There is no reason to change papers. Ignore the stuff in Canon marketing about scratch resistance and much improved colours. Yeah, there are improvements there. Have a look at my reviews if you want to see details of that. But are you going to notice a difference? If you can notice a difference between the PRO-1000 and the PRO-1100, then it's almost certainly because you were doing something less than optimally. I won't say you were doing something wrong, because you may have got good prints out of it. But if you see a difference, a clear difference between the 1000 and the 1100, something somewhere is wrong in the process. Don't know what, but always bear that in mind, that anything you read about the new inks in this, for example, has come via Canon marketing. Now, I'm not accusing them of any form of dishonesty or stretching the truth there, but they're marketing a product. Anyone does this when marketing a product. It's how it's done. Okay, that's if you're an expert with 1000. What about if you had a previous Canon printer, say a 300? Well, the inks are similar, so your 300 printing experience should be broadly similar. No reason not to. If you had something like a Pro-200, which is a dye-based printer, the inks behave differently. So be careful with what you thought were excellent print choices, paper choices before. There may be enough differences, certainly from the 200 dye-based printer to an 1100, for you to notice it. Similarly, if you've come from an Epson pigment ink printer, although they're all excellent printers, there are differences, and you may find that a particular paper performs better on one than another. So depending on how much of a change it is from your old printer to your new printer, be prepared to reevaluate your paper choices. Now, the third category is someone who's decided, right, I really want to get into printing. I'm going to go straight away for something really good. I'm going to go for an 1100. I've not that much experience of printing, but I want to make top-notch prints. Okay. First of all, your images better be top-notch as well, because remember, rubbish photo makes a rubbish print, no matter how well you can print it. Always worth remembering that. So what I would say to people who are new to printers like this is start basic. Resist the temptation to go out and get sample packs of papers, things like that. Just resist that temptation until you understand how the printer works. So what should you do? I always start with some basic test images that give me an idea of how the printer is performing. They give me a very good idea of how the printer behaves with paper. Gives me practice using it, and if it's a cheaper paper, I'm not wasting loads of paper and doing things, but it gives me a better idea of doing it. I would also suggest, if you are relatively new to this, using the Canon PPL printing software. Now, it's not perfect, but it's very good. What it does very well. It has a black and white mode, so you're okay for that as well. So I cover it in quite a lot of my videos where I'm showing examples of printing. It's the same on Macs and PCs. The software just works. Doesn't do too many extraneous functions. Put a picture into it, it prints. You can lay it out, you can do all the usual bits and pieces and get good prints. Quite a few of these prints, don't remember which, were printed using PPL. It works just fine, so there's no need to do any more for that. Now, basic papers, as I say, start off with Canon branded papers because they just work. The profiles are available for them. The printer has been tested with them. It should be absolutely fine. This printer should work fine with Canon papers. But which Canon papers? Well, that depends a little bit on what your preferences are. And incidentally, your preferences could well vary depending on the size of the print. So for small prints, if you're putting 6x4s through this, and this feeds 6x4s just fine. If you're putting that, you may like small, glossy, even borderless prints. But remember, the more borderless printing you do, the more mess you potentially make inside the printer and the more care you want to pay to keeping it clean. I've covered this in videos, but anyway, you won't want basic glossy paper. The Canon glossy and luster papers are very good. Profiles are there for them. The media settings are there for them. As I said, they should just work. For larger prints, you may want something with not quite such, a shiny surface on it. It depends what you're doing with the prints as to how well that works. But certainly look at some of the Canon art papers. The smooth art paper, fine art smooth, is very good. The rough has a bit of surface texture if you want to try with that. I prefer myself generally papers with not a lot of texture. As I said, this one's very thin. I can't remember which one that is. And incidentally, notice I just pick up prints like this and handle them like this. This is because these are test prints. If these were prints I was going to actually use for anything, I would be handling them considerably more carefully. I would also be careful not to make them dirty, scratch them, because despite the changes in the inks, it is possible to mark the surface of some papers, irrespective of the new inks. But we've got different papers here. It's a matter of picking what you like, certainly on the art prints. But you cannot go wrong if you're learning to use a new printer to decide to start on a luster paper, a good quality luster paper, and that's it. You may decide you want to go glossier, you may decide you won't. You might decide, if you're going with other papers, this one is a metallic one. This one's from Red River paper, and you know, we've got a metallic finish paper there. Some images, the more unusual the paper, the more care you have to pay to which images are going to work on it. For black and white, I prefer, if I'm getting an art paper, I prefer a neutral or not a very bright white paper for things like that, certainly for stonework and things like this. But you know, you can go for heavier papers as well. There are a vast range of papers, and therein lies the problem. There's such a vast range of papers. If you haven't based, and this is for people who are new to printing, if you haven't understood how the printer works, how to get the best out of it on basic papers, you will never have a sound basis for making comparisons with other papers. Hence my suggestion not to rush out and get test packs, or if you do get a load of test packs, put them to the side for a while until you can perfect your printing on basic Canon papers. And this is, you know, depending on how much knowledge you've got, some people will go, well, I'm not going to do all of that. It's too much. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Fair enough. But what I'm saying is this is for people who are new to printers like this. Take a bit of care, step back, take your time doing it, and you will very quickly, your printing skills will advance to the point that you can decide you could do a print on a paper. Of course, you don't have to do them this size. You can do a print on a paper and go, look at this, and I can see what I like about it, don't like about it. So you might be looking, if you're testing a paper, you want to see the evenness, you want to see the shadow detail, you want to see the colour reproduction. I've got one here. This is on a Baryta style paper. These are nice. This has a sort of semi-gloss finish. It's on a fibre, or you know, an actual paper backing, and it has a coating on it. It's got a good range of colour. You can see, if I move it like that, you can see the surface texture of it. This sort of stuff, deciding that you particularly like a particular sort of paper, is something that comes with experience and the types of photography you do. It varies depending on what you do. Some types of photography will work better than others. So there's an image here of a flower that I took, and this is printed on quite a larger sheet, as you can see. Have I got it the right way up? Yes, I have got it the right way up. There we go. You can see I just rotate it so you can get an idea of the surface sheen on it. But this has got a much more intense black than I would if I'd have printed on one of the art papers. So if you want deep blacks like this, go for a paper that is using the photo black. So this is a Baryta style paper. So yeah, that it has lots of detail in it. But once again, the picture was produced specifically to make an interesting decorative print. This is actually one of the orchids that grow in the kitchen here. Put up, oh, incidentally, the photograph of it, in case you're wondering, it's just a couple of lights, very simple. This black background, one of my black t-shirts. Yeah, just absorbs light enough just to make a shot like that. Play around with the colour, the tonality, you can get a good print. Remember too that the print is not the screen, the print is never the screen. If the print is the final result, making a good print is what counts. You cannot ever truly match screen and print, so don't worry about it. I've covered this in lots of other videos and things. But anyway, that's your basic papers. And as I say, Canon papers for that. What about black and white? Same thing goes, really. I would prefer, I say, the luster, the art papers. Right, so there's all our papers. Where to get them from? Well, Canon papers you can buy from loads of places. What about more specialist paper suppliers? What makes me choose, if I'm spending my own money, a paper supplier to get paper from? I don't go by brand. Now, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy using papers from the likes of Hahnemuhle and Canson. They make excellent papers. They also produce profiles as well, which is useful. So, what about particular paper supplier if they have their own sort of fine art range of papers? I might think of something like the ones from Permajet here in the UK, quite a few of which I've tested on this, and I've got a video looking at some of this. Now, there's a whole load of art papers. Now, if you look at them, they look, certainly on video, the prints look almost identical. It's all about texture, it's about weight, it's about look, it's about surface brightness, it's about surface whiteness, whether there are optical brighteners in the paper or not. That may concern you, it may not concern you, it doesn't, it's whatever you want to do with your prints. Why would I look at a supplier like that rather than one of the, say, big box suppliers, or get something from Amazon? It says, why would I go for one? Well, one, I like to support, smaller businesses and specialist businesses. And two, I know all the effort they put into making profiles. Having profiles for a paper just gives that extra bit of quality. It gives you more predictability in the colours. It produces better results. You can often, with prints, get away without using them. Mind you, that's like putting cheap petrol into a performance car. You're not getting the best from it. I wouldn't say it's going to damage it in any way, but certainly you don't want to put just any old paper through if you want good results. So I would always choose somewhere from, one of the companies like that. In the US, I've had some papers sent to me, thank you very much, which, because the postage is quite a bit from the States to here for boxes of paper. I've had some from Red River Paper. Now, I know they make their own profiles for the papers they supply. Likewise, say Permajet, Photospeed here as well, and a few other suppliers. I would much rather go with a company like that has shown a commitment towards better print quality for people. They are helpful. They have articles on their site about how to install profiles, various things like that. So this comes up one other specific issue for this, the 1100. ICC profiles, I produce them for the papers I've tested. You can produce, in addition to that, what are known as AM1X files for Canon printers here. They are custom media files. They have more information in them. They are different from profiles. Use profiles and an AM1X file. So the AM1X file literally means that if you get one of these for a paper, you can have a custom paper name appear here. And that will be optimized for the printer in the paper. Now that takes a lot more work making those than making profiles. It's also something, and I discussed this in the written review if you're interested in this in more detail. I specifically don't produce AM1X files because I want to make it easy for people to use. The media configuration tool, which is what you need for installing the AM1X files, I won't say it's fiddly, but it is not the greatest example I've come across of usability for people who are new to printers like this. So take care with it. I've got examples of using it in my written reviews and things like that, but take care with it. But a company that provides AM1X files and profiles and papers for it, that's somebody perhaps to give you business to. And they'll do more basic papers as well. You can guarantee that if they've got more basic papers, I don't know, you may spend a little bit more, you may spend a little bit less. I'm not saying, this is not a printer where, cheapness is going to be of benefit to you. This is a good printer. Put good paper through it. Even, even cheaper papers with profiles and perhaps AM1X files can be of use. So there you have it. That's it. The key element of all of this is to experiment with your printer. Remember, any new printer, you should effectively reset some of your expectations and reevaluate it. Look at your prints, and the key is to look at your prints, to actually get used to looking at how the prints look under different lighting, to think, what am I looking at here? Not how well does this match the screen, but is this good as a print? Am I happy with this as a print? Yeah. Do I like this metallic paper? Do I like using something like this for an image? And that is why I never make recommendations, because I've got some images I like on this, much like an expensive paper, the Hahnemuhle metallic rag paper. I tested that on another printer, and for the right image it is absolutely stunning. For the wrong image it looks naff. It really does. Expensively naff. Just goes to show the right paper, the right image, it's for you to make the choice of it. If you've got any questions, please do let me know. I put links to the main article. The main article, review article for the printer, has links to all of my related videos in it as well. So if you want a generalized PRO-1100 resource, look at that written article, because I will update it over time. So this video will be listed in it, and so on. But anyway, hope that was of some interest and it's helped people with the PRO-1100. Thanks for watching. Oh, please do like, subscribe and all the usual YouTube stuff. Thank you.